Well, hey guys, it's Destry. Welcome back to my Oregon yard. In today's video, we're going to be making this really beautiful and simple craft. It is affordable, it's easy, and it will help you to preserve all the beautiful blooms you've worked so hard for in your garden and yard this season. So I will take you through all the supplies that you need to make these beautiful beaded wreaths with preserved florals. And the nice thing about it, it's really affordable too. I just got these wreath forms at the dollar store. Let's hang out in the yard today and make this beautiful, fun, and simple craft. So if you haven't seen any more of my videos regarding drying and preserving flowers, check the description below. I will leave a couple videos here for you. I have one on what flowers I've grown this season and some other wreath making and craft projects that I've done so far. So be sure to check the description for more information. So let's go ahead and get started with the tools that we're going to need for this craft. First of all, you got to find one of these really inexpensive beaded wreaths. So I just got these at my local dollar store. I thought they were nice and simple. They're a really good size and they were really affordable. And then of course, probably the biggest thing you're going to need are your dried flowers. So again, I have a different video on what flowers I've grown this season, but some of the things I have to choose from are in this basket here. I've got some straw flower, I've got some status, I've got some foraged, different things that I've gone and got, and I've even gotten some of my dried florals from Trader Joe's. So in this vase, I have some eucalyptus that I just picked up at my local, you could get it at your local grocery store. I got it at the Trader Joe's and I just hung it upside down to dry, and now I have some beautiful eucalyptus to use for these arrangements as well. So here is another little vase I have here with some yarrow and some just lots of different things. I've been gathering and kind of collecting for this project. Now you could also purchase dried florals online and do something similar to this. I'm just having a lot of fun drying my own flowers. So here in front of me, you can see I'm experimenting with drying all sorts of things. Dahlias, for example, zinnias, and I do have some really beautiful drumstick flowers that I grew this year. But you can source dried flowers, anywhere. So a couple other tools that you're gonna need, probably some rubber bands. Now I have a couple different size rubber bands here. I was able to grab on Amazon some really kind of tiny ones, and then I have just these ones here. So you definitely wanna gather up some rubber bands. Another thing that I bought specifically for this sort of crafting and wreath making this year is this. This is a floral wire that has a covering, a paper coating on it. It's paper coated floral wire. So I got a couple different kinds on Amazon. I got this green one, and then I have a brown one as well. So again, this isn't totally necessary. You could use some twine or yarn or whatever you have laying around, but I did buy this so that I could try it for this craft. And I'm just keeping them in these little bags just so that as I pull it out, it doesn't get all tangled. Other tools I have today, I do have my cordless hot glue gun, which I love this thing. You just charge up the battery and then it's cordless. I've got some scissors, and I do have some ribbon. So this ribbon is one that I've used time and time again. It is from Amazon, and it's a little bit of a wider ribbon, and I'm going to use that in my wreaths to kind of hide the mechanics of how I'm putting these things together. So let me show you one of these wreaths up close. Here's one that I created last night, and you can see right here is where I'm using that lacy ribbon. So it's kind of like a jute ribbon that has a little bit of lace, and I'm using that to sort of hide where I'm putting, basically these two bouquets kind of together here. But you can see I'm also hot gluing and arranging on top of that ribbon as well. So you would need to find something to kind of put here, but there's all kinds of beautiful ribbon. And of course, I'm also using a ribbon up here at the top. So you can see this one's kind of in the lower right-hand corner. That's where my dried florals are. But in this arrangement, you can see I have some white orlea here. I've got some different grasses that I foraged. I have some of that eucalyptus, some status, straw flower, and some gomphrena, and then some of those dried dahlias. So I really like the way this one turned out. And in this one, you can see I have the florals facing the other direction. So I've got the straw flower there. I've got some different things. I have one of the drumstick flowers here. And again, I'm using that ribbon to sort of hide the mechanics of, putting this together. The other one I made last night. So you can also see that I'm kind of gathering up different color schemes here. So I'm doing some warm color schemes and more like neutrals, and then I've got the kind of the pinks and purples as well. So now that you saw some of the supplies, I'm going to set these aside and we're going to get started on a new wreath. I have 2 more to make today. And so I know that the next one I want to do, I'm going to do the pinks and purples again. And I think this time I'm going to go ahead and put the focal point down here at the bottom rather than on the side. But you could do it however you wanted to. So I'm going to keep my other pink and purple one out here for some inspiration as I'm working, and then grab the new wreath form here. And then what I'm going to do essentially is create 2 bundles, right? Like almost like 2 mini bouquets. Now, when I was putting them on the side, I was kind of making the top one be a little bit bigger and then the bottom one a little bit smaller. But I think because this one, I'm going to put it at the bottom here, I kind of want them to be the same size. So what I'm going to do is just kind of work to create these 2 bundles, and then I'm going to be attaching them to the bottom of the wreath. So let's go ahead and look at some of the foraged florals or dried florals I'm kind of talking about here. This one, I do not know what kind of plant this is, you guys. This was sticking way up out of a plant that kind of looked dead, and I loved the seed pods on it. I thought they were so cute and interesting, and the whole stem has kind of a fuzzy appeal to it. So if you know what plant this is, let me know in the comments. This is one that I grew. This is that white Orlea, and I thought the seeds heads were really interesting. Now they're very, very pokey. They are like burrs. And, you know, I say with any of this stuff, I am risking, you know, these seeds dropping around my property and having maybe some unexpected seedlings next year. So if that bothers you, then you can definitely skip this idea of like foraging. But I think there's some really interesting things that you can go out and find in nature. So here's another one. I foraged this grass down by the river of our house, and I thought these little seed heads were really interesting. But again, I know I'm running the risk of some of those dropping off. Now I have been sort of isolating these dried florals into one section of my yard, and they're in buckets. And so I'm trying to, you know, have those seeds not go everywhere if I can help it. Here's another grass that I foraged for, and again, I don't know the name of it, but I really liked these seed heads up at the top. I thought they were really interesting. And so those are just some of the kind of found florals that I'm using. And then, like I said, I've got some of this eucalyptus down here, and it provides a green. I feel like you really need some green when you're doing this. So there's 2 kinds of eucalyptus here. And the one thing I have noticed about working with it though is that it does break really easily, like the leaves fall off really easily. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. With any dried florals, I mean, they can be really, really delicate here. So, I mean, that's okay if I'm making a bundle. I don't want the leaves down there anyway, but it is pretty delicate. So the way that I'm gonna start this is just to, like I said, create these 2 bundles. I'm going to start with one, and whatever ingredients I put in the one bundle is what I would like to, you know, mimic on the other side. So I have a lot of this white Orlea, and I think it's really pretty with these kind of burr seed heads. So I'm going to start with that and then layer in some of these found grasses. One thing you do have to be careful for with the found grasses to make sure there's no like egg sacs or bugs or anything. And these super tall ones, I've been sort of clipping them down a little bit because I'm mainly just interested in that top part there. Oop, here comes the wind. And then I'm gonna lay in, you know, one of these eucalyptus here. And then let's put one of those with those pretty seed pod heads here at the top. So this is gonna be sort of my filler. So kind of approaching it like I was making a, you know, jarred arrangement or like a little mini floral arrangement, and having my scissors or clippers nearby is going to be really helpful too. So I'm going to go ahead and lay in, well, let's see, I'm doing a pink and purple one, so I'm not going to do the drumstick flower. Let's lay in a little bit of the yarrow. So I have some purple yarrow here. Just going to set that down and pull this out. Now these are all ones I've dried and they're rubber banded, so you kind of have to Again, be a little careful and pull them out from the bottom, but this will give a little pop of purple because this one's going to be my pinks and purples. And then as I'm bundling it, you know, I'm really putting the tall stuff in the back and then trying to put the color more up towards the front here because it's kind of like making a little faced bundle. So now I'm going to get in here with some of my status. I have some purple status that could be pretty. I'm going to set that down again. And you know, at this point, I could even take off these rubber bands, make it a little easier for me to access these colors. And again, so because this one's going to be in the center, I really want to make sure that these are kind of the same on both sides and that they kind of fan out from the middle. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more status here. It's all kind of tangled up. Here we go. And I am working on a mat because, you know, again, these little seeds are falling out and just these dried florals are really delicate. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And then now I want to have, you know, my focal flowers. Again, I want to have the focal flowers kind of down here and right front and center. And I can even hot glue some of those after the fact. But here's what I've got so far. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see, I bet. So next up, I'm going to try some of my straw flower. I have some pink straw flower here that's really pretty. Now the straw flower stems I've had medium success with. One thing tip I have for you is to make sure to hydrate these before you dry them and turn them upside down. So I can tell I didn't do that with this stem. The ones where I've hydrated them prior to drying, the stems have been a lot stronger. So this one's okay though, and sometimes I can kind of just, you know, these straw flower faces are kind of heavy, but I can kind of tuck them back in behind, you know, one of these other little bits and bobs. Okay, so that's really good. So grouping of 3 is really nice. I'm liking that. And I do have some Gonfrina and some celosia, or celosia. So here is the celosia. It's a really pretty one. That was a floret one from this year. So I'll layer that kind of in the back. And then the Gonfrina I have is really kind of short stemmed. So I'm going to put that more, again, in the front, but it's a really pretty pop of purple. So I'm going to put a couple of those in there. So again, it's almost like I could just rubber band this and put it in a little vase and it would be really pretty, but instead I'm going to use it for my wreath. Now another one that's drying really beautifully, you guys, are some of my dahlias. Look at the color on that. So popping a little bit of that dark color there after the fact could be really nice. So now I'm going to take one of my small rubber bands, and these ones, you guys, forgive me, I don't know the size, but they are tiny. They're like what I would use on my daughter when she was really little and had little pigtails. And then I'm going to trim the bottom down. And again, I want it to be pretty tight. So I've got 2 rubber bands kind of layered on top of each other, and I'm going to band that up. And that way it's all together and it's not going anywhere. And again, I'm keeping the tail pretty short, but I can trim that more later. So that's going to be one side of the wreath there. So there's so much stuff behind me, I don't think you can even see this. There we go. Is that better? So that's going to be one side. So now I'm just going to make a bouquet that mirrors that uses some of the same ingredients, but I could pop a few different things. So I didn't use this seed pod on the other side. So maybe I'll start with that just to kind of have something different. So, I mean, that's the fun thing about a craft like this is like whatever you do, it's going to be cool. I mean, these dried florals are cool. And it's, again, a beautiful way to look back at your garden later and, you know, remember some of that color, some of that texture in those really cold and dreary winter months. I'm also keeping in mind how tall that one was because I want this one to be about the same height. So if you haven't seen my video where I make a wreath completely out of status, I will link that one for you. That was a super fun project as well. I have noticed that, you know, doing it with the dried florals that are already more, you know, more dry instead of fresh, it's a little trickier. Well, let's go ahead and get in there with the straw flowers. Let's see what that does. All right, I've got a nice big stem here. And it's got 3 flowers on it. So if I can find a way to nestle that, I'm gonna move this one up and over. I want this to be kind of nestled right in the front. So that's what, 6 straw flower on this wreath. So again, a lot of this other filler that I scavenged for, you know, that's a little easier than the straw flower, which I, you know, grew from seed, watered, and I want to make it go a long way with all the different floral crafts I'm planning on doing. So using some of these other sort of found ingredients is gonna save me a little bit of that. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. The Gonfrina is last. Oops, I just broke that one, darn it. So at this point I've been making, oh my gosh, I've been making little pumpkins. I've been making some little dried floral arrangements. The pumpkins have been really, really fun. So I'm hoping to do a video on that. If I have that already, I will try to link that one for you too. But I do have a whole playlist on crafts or crafting. So check that playlist. I've got a lot of fun videos in there. I've done everything from making like bird seed ornaments in the winter to all kinds of stuff. So check that playlist out for more. Then I'm gonna grab those rubber bands. Where did I put them? Usually I pop a couple just on the counter here. And I'm gonna band this one. All right, so let me show you kind of what I've got going here. So I've got the 2 basically mini bouquets. I'm crisscrossing them at the bottom, and everything looks beautiful. It looks really full and lush, and there's a lot of pretty flowers here. So now comes kind of the tricky part where you have to basically, you know, get these bundles onto the wreath. So I've come across a couple tips here for you, and the main one is this this wired kind of twine. So you could also use like paddle wire. Let's see, I don't have my paddle wire here. That would work well too. I just grabbed this because it had that brown paper on it, and I thought it would, I don't know, kind of go away a little bit more than a bright green paddle wire, which is what I had. So, and the little thing of it that I got is huge, so I know it'll last a long time. So I've crisscrossed these. So I've crisscrossed these at the bottom, and you could even go, like I could even go a little shorter. And now I'm gonna start to wire this onto here. So I've got both bundles, and this is the part that takes a little finesse. So again, if you were using paddle wire, you could do it that way. But what I've noticed about these beaded wreaths, you guys, is the beads like to roll around on here. So it's kind of, you know, you gotta kind of like work with it like any craft. You gotta kind of hold it with one hand. I also want to make sure I'm actually in the middle. Okay. So let me know in the comments, have you done dried floral crafting, and what have you found that works for you? I would love to get any comments that have any tips or tricks, because I am new to this. I'm just kind of learning as I go, but I'm also kind of surprised. It's pretty simple and easy. So I've got my wire down here, and I'm just tying it off in the back, trying to keep everything even. This guy wants to, see, that's the thing, my beads want to move around. So that's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do next is grab my hot glue gun. I gotta turn it on and get it warming up here. And I am gonna put just a little couple dabs of hot glue in the back to kind of secure this thing on here. And I'm also going to be using a bit of that ribbon, and I'm going to be putting that in the front to, again, sort of hide some of those mechanics and also for stability. So the first thing I'm going to do with this part is put a little hot glue right here in the middle of the ribbon. Then I'm going to be putting that on the front. So I'm sort of hot gluing that in place from the front. leaving the tails back here. And then I'm gonna wrap this, and I'm actually putting hot glue on the beads. And then I'm gonna wrap that around and hot glue that in place on the back. So look at this dahlia, isn't that one pretty? So what I could do is just cut that whole stem and put a little hot glue on the back, and I could actually hide that entire ribbon with that if I wanted to. Now I kind of like the look of the ribbon, so I think I'll skip that one. I'm gonna find that same deep dark purple though, and use this one instead. But if you have anything that kind of breaks off as you're working, you can go ahead and save it. Like, so this Gumfrina, the stem broke off, but I can just pop a little hot glue on this and I can work it into the design, trying not to get hot glue on my finger. So like maybe if I have kind of an empty spot right here in the middle, I can put a little bit here, and that's where I put the other one too. Here is the one I just finished. So I think it looks really, really pretty. Again, I am struggling a little bit with this turning, but I think it's gonna be really nice. Yeah, I think it looks really pretty. And I'm out of ribbon. I just ordered a little bit more to do something pretty at the top, but just putting a pretty ribbon. Or if you're a person who wants to put like a satin ribbon here, would be really nice, or whatever. Use your creativity and imagination. But I really like the way that that one turned out. All right, well, let's take a look at how everything turned out. Sorry about the lighting. It's a hot day here out on my patio, but you can kind of see all the little bundles I'm talking about, how I was able to put these all together. And I really think that these turned out really, really well. Now I am planning to sell these out on my flower stand, or maybe make some custom orders, but I gotta go run to the dollar store and get a couple more of these really fun wreath forms. They're so easy to use and really perfect for this dried floral arrangement, preserving my garden, and having some forever florals. Well, this was a really fun and simple craft to do today, so I hope you like checking it out. Be sure to check out some of my other videos and playlists for more fun craft ideas. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.